Micah, are you saying here that Tottenham are better without Harry Kane? Is that what you're trying to say?
Can you imagine if they won the league without Harry Kane?
Oh, don't. And Bayern Munich didn't. No, that wouldn't be funny.
Can I just ask you then, Gary, what would your front three be for England?
Well, you'd put Bellingham in your squad, would you? What a player.
He is, you know what, I'm not even going to put no pressure on. It's phenomenal.
Don't think he bothered about pressure. Do you think he gives a flying about pressure for Micah Richards? I'm not going to put any pressure in.
Jude, if you're listening, just relax. Micah loves you, okay? Everything's okay. Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker. Alan Shearer and Micah Richards are here with us, as always, ready to reflect on all the big news from the footballing world. I suppose there's only one place to start this week, and that's with the battle of last season's top two in North London. But a bit of excitement at the end, obviously, for Arsenal fans, and a massively important victory for them. But overall, it was a drab old game. It was very disappointing, wasn't it?
Oh, it was dour. I was there and I was expecting...
I've watched you all day, Micah. I've watched you all day.
Are you not sick to death of listening to me now?
Yes, we are. We've had to put up with your all day.
So I was at the ground and I'm thinking, okay, top of the table clash. Arsenal have got a little bit to give from last season when Man City dominated both games. We're going to see high energy, high flying, two teams on it. And it was the complete opposite. I mean, when Martinelli and Saka are not available from the start, it's always going to be difficult for Arsenal because they rely so much on the way they play and on that counter-attack. But Man City as well, the whole thing with Alvarez playing just behind him, creating that partnership, but he plays Alvarez on the right, and it's just, the game, they were just cancelling each other out, and it wasn't the greatest watch, to be honest.
Alan, I recognise that room you're in, Alan, there. I've spent many an hour in one of those rooms.
Yeah.
Where is it, Al? What is it?
This is Sunday evening, you're on Match of the Day 2 later on. That is one of the dressing rooms.
Ooh, we'll get in trouble for that. Don't tell Chappers, dearie me. He'll have you.
He'll be after you, Micah. Yeah, it was. Honestly, I had to get up off the settee. I could actually feel, I could feel my head nodding like that. So I had to get up and stand up before I fell asleep. The game was that bad. Give credit to Arteta though. I think all his subs played a part in the goal, the pass, the header, obviously the finish. So he made his subs. They work. You want them to affect the game, but I just thought that both teams were going to be playing out a draw in the end and be happy with a point, but they got the little bit of luck that Mikel will tell you they probably deserve. But I thought Man City were really poor. I think they had one shot on target. That was it.
I've watched Manchester City, obviously we all have, and we've marvelled at their brilliant play and their expansive football. But he played remarkably narrow in this game. His whole, there were no wide players, and the players that did play either side of Haaland were really narrow. There was no width. And normally when City play, they make the pitch as long and as wide as they possibly can. It was obviously one of Pep's little things. Let's crowd midfield. Let's probably overpower them in there, outnumber them. But it wasn't that, the performance that we've been used to.
No, I mean, we talked about losing Rodri against Newcastle, him not playing against Wolves, and them not playing today. And I don't want to bang the same drum, but when you've got Bernardo Silva, who tactically in a forward advanced position, and he's so good with a link-up play with a Haaland or a Foden or an Alvarez, for him to come back and play as a 6 at times, it just sort of contradicted everything that Man City are good at doing, Rico Lewis, I thought, did well in the first half with his energy, always trying to get on the ball. But you're right, Gary, without the width, I was surprised Grealish didn't come on. Doku was a little bit late coming on into the game as well. And Kovacic, that decision, to be honest.
He was very lucky to be on the pitch, wasn't he, at half-time? Boy, oh boy.
He was very lucky.
I mean, the first one was probably an amber, wasn't it?
It was an amber,
and then the second one was definitely a yellow, so it should have been 2 yellows and off, shouldn't it, Alan?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was amazed that he didn't get a second yellow. I totally agree with you on the first one. It was okay, and you go with the rest decision. You say he was fortunate because he could have easily shown a red card, and you couldn't have argued if he did under the current laws. But once he'd given the yellow, I just thought he can't tackle again. Once he made that second tackle, I thought that's it, he's off. So I was surprised that it wasn't another yellow then a red.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Saliba as well, because he's just been immense. And remember last season when I lost him the latter part of the season, and this sort of wasn't right. He started the season so well. I mean, Haaland didn't have a sniff. I know we did the whole thing with the whole Ballon Dawson didn't give him a sniff when they played Wolves. But again, he's got no opportunities, and it looks like he's a little bit frustrated. But I've got to give credit to Saliba and Gabriel at the back today.
Also, I thought Declan Rice was superb. I thought he was all over the pitch. He didn't, passing the ball forward. I thought he was exceptional. Yeah. He's really settled in very quickly there, hasn't he?
He made a couple of great saving tackles. Obviously, made the clearance off the line also.
Yep.
So he without doubt is obviously, you can tell he's loving his football there, and rightly so. And he's going to have to keep on doing that if Arsenal are going to win the league.
How important is this game psychologically to us? I know it wasn't a brilliant performance by either side, but it doesn't matter now, does it? You get 3 points. And the fact that they've been beaten consistently by Manchester City for ages, psychologically, that must be important.
Yeah, I would say yes, of course, because you always have that doubt in your mind, don't you? Can we beat them? And towards last season, when they went to the Etihad, it was almost like belief maybe or hope rather than reality that we're going to go to the Etihad and actually get something. But that will give them so much confidence. Like I said, I don't think they play the best, but the thing as I liked about Arsenal today, there was more mature, and they was willing to sacrifice their strengths to get some points on the board. So it was a mature performance, and fair play for them for changing it up a little bit.
I'd agree. I think for confidence for them, even for the rest of the league. I know the Man City fans won't like it, but I think it's, as a neutral, it's probably better for the league. But I agree. I thought they were superb defensively. Didn't offer too much going forward, but the way they actually stopped Manchester City, you can say, well, they didn't play well, but I thought Arsenal sort of stopped them and defended really well. Not only at the back, but I thought all over the pitch, the way they pressed them, the way Declan Rice protected the back four when they got through, and then I thought they defended really, really well. The only one I thought was shaky at times was obviously the goalkeeper, where I was some of the times when he got caught on the ball, I was thinking, what on earth is happening here?
Micah, I've got one very important question.
Okay.
Really important. I want an honest answer here.
Do you want me to,
Who were you cheering on? Who did you want to win today?
Be careful, buddy, where you're getting paid from Manchester City.
Lifetime Arsenal fan, Manchester City's ambassador. Come on.
You're a bad man, you are.
I'm not a bad man. This is what the public want to know, Micah. Deep down.
I just wanted football to be the winner, and football certainly wasn't the winner today. It was awful.
You bullshit.
You've got your Arsenal undies on, haven't you? You've got them on underneath there. Have you got a half and half scarf? You got one of those?
I'll take a half and half scarf.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get that. But I must say I think it's a great weekend. Top of the Premier League are Tottenham Hotspur. Top of the Championship are Leicester City.
Well, hold on. I thought you was Everton last week. You're claiming Spurs today, are you? Oh, interesting.
Everton won 3-1 yesterday. So it's been a glorious weekend. Oh, dear. But, but for Spurs, though, again, they showed fortitude, didn't they? Went down to 10 men and managed to get a victory. And I don't think anybody, any pundit anywhere, would have tipped Tottenham to be top of the league after 8 games.
Hold on. I want Tipper to be top of the league. But remember one of our earlier podcasts, and I said Spurs, I wouldn't say they're going to be they're going to take more responsibility. And that is exactly what's happening now, because what Spurs can do, they can defend deep, but they've got runners on the counter-attack. When Harry Kane comes really deep to get the ball, and he's the last man, it brings everyone further back within the pitch. Now you've got players who can stretch you. Maddison getting on the ball. Son in behind. You know, it's just Richarlison, the pace.
Micah, are you saying here that Tottenham are better without Harry Kane? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just saying that they are... They're more explosive now because they've got runners in their forward position with Kulusevski as well.
Or may I say, maybe it's because they've got a manager that wants to play really open, adventurous, aggressive, attacking football. Maybe that's what.
Can you imagine if they won the league without Harry Kane?
Oh, don't. And Bayern Munich didn't. No.
Do you know what also is going to help them this season? Is that exactly the same thing what helped Newcastle last season?
No Europe.
No European football. All the big boys are playing on a regular basis in Europe, and you know how tough that is. That could really, really help them.
Speaking of the big boys, Alan, obviously that game wasn't on television today, West Ham versus Newcastle. You'd have watched it because you're obviously covering all the games for tonight's programme. What was it like? Your late equaliser, wasn't it, for West Ham?
Yeah, it was. Newcastle were really poor in the first half. Didn't turn up, looked tired. Obviously had a bollocking at half time and a few choice words because the second half.
There's a bit of a hangover from the big night in midweek.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and understandably so, and with the injuries that they've got because of what happened on Wednesday evening. But then second half they came out. They were a different team. 10 or 15 yards further up the pitch, had loads more energy, and were miles the better team for 40 minutes of that half. Got two very good goals. And Isak went through one-on-one and to make it 3-1 and get his hat-trick, and he hit the post. If that goes in, it's different.
Oh, wow.
But then David Moyes makes a great substitution. Kudos, I think he's a player came on, young boy. Yeah. Great, looked brilliant when he came on and scored a fantastic goal. So probably a fair result.
Could we say kudos to... Kudos to him for doing
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
Kudos to David Moyes.
Kudos to kudos.
There's a guy from Ajax, isn't it, Al? The guy from Ajax.
Yeah,
yes.
he was. I mean, he won them the point. Every time he got the ball, he looked a threat, and he got his goal. So it was probably a fair result in the end, and one I think that Newcastle would have taken before the game because of what happened on Wednesday.
Who was a standout player? Sorry, Al. Just before, who was it? Was it Isak? Was it with his 2 goals, or was there any?
Yeah, you'd have to say Isak, and again Kieran Trippier. I mean, some of the balls that he's putting into the box, just unbelievable. And again, what a signing he's been for Newcastle. He's in great form.
He is. How old is he, Trippier? He's in his 30s now, isn't he?
He's 2 years younger than me, so I'm 30. I think he's going to be 30. I think he's born 1990, if I'm correct.
Yeah, golden year. Can Tottenham win the title?
No,
I don't think so. Only because if they get a big injury, you have to sort of probably change the way you play, and they've not got the quality to come in. Whereas in Man City or even your Arsenal now, going so close last season, they've got more experience of knowing what it takes to get over the line now.
And Liverpool too, probably. I mean, they're right up there. I know they didn't quite manage to win today, but you know, they've got some good players. They seem to have bought well.
Not sure about them defensively though, Liverpool.
They're making mistakes.
I'm not changing my mind from I think it'll be a 2-horse race again, Arsenal and City. I think they might stay up there for a while, but come the end of the season, I think it'll be those two, Arsenal and Man City. And with Spurs, I would think there has to be a time, and I know they haven't got European football, but there has to be a time where they hit a bit of a sticky patch and they can't rely on Harry or his goals. And I think that'll get them, catch up with them at some stage. But I do fancy them to challenge for a top 4 position, which I'm sure all Spurs fans would have taken before the season.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The same probably can't be said of Manchester United. They've obviously they turned it around incredibly. Yesterday, one down, in the 94th minute they were playing. Again, we've seen that kind of prolonged injury time or wasting time, the added time at the end of the game, has produced some real late drama. And yesterday it was the turn of United. McTominay came on in the 87th minute, 1-0 down, scored 2 goals.
McSauce.
McSauce, yeah.
McSauce, we're calling him, Gary. When you get 2 like that, we're calling him McSauce. You know what? I was so delighted, and this is coming from a blue. I was so delighted for McTominay because he's been doing so well for Scotland, been scoring goals. He's more advanced position when he's playing for Scotland, and he's almost just been written off at Manchester United.
Yeah, do you think he's been unfairly treated a little bit, perhaps?
Well, no. You know what it is? It's very tough because when you go back to the old great midfielders that Man United have had, you're always going to get compared to them. Unfortunately, he's not at that level, but he can still do a job for this team. And I see it on his Instagram, and it was like, this is what it means. And you could feel the whole emotion. It meant so much to him. So I'm delighted for him. And he's more than just a ratter in midfield. He's got good technical ability, he's got good energy, and he's got good timing of his runs as well. So I was delighted for him.
He looks better when he's kind of playing a slightly more advanced midfield role, doesn't he? Because he's he's definitely a threat in the box.
Yeah,
and he's scored quite a few lately for, as you said, with Scotland.
Yeah, and I think that's the one of those, certainly one of the few positions in the Man United team that is still being questioned in terms of how good they are in that area. So he'd probably be thinking, hang on a minute, it hasn't been going great for the players in there, I deserve a chance. And you'd imagine after the international break, he'll get his chance. Do
you think that could be a turning point for Manchester United, or do you think they're just papering over cracks?
I don't. I said it a few weeks ago, didn't I, that I think what is happening at the very top of the football club inevitably at some stage always filters its way down onto the pitch. Now people will say, well, hang on a minute, it shouldn't do, it should got nothing to do with the players, what's going on in the boardroom or wherever it is. But it does, it happens, you know it does. There's a discontent amongst the fans because of the owners, and that has filtered down onto the pitch. And no, I don't see it getting significantly better until that changes.
It adds pressure and affects confidence, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. I have a little bit of sympathy for Ten Hag with what's going on. Obviously, having to deal with the Ronaldo situation so early, the Sancho situation, not apologising, Rashford turning up late and then having to leave him out of the game and then coming back, the whole Mason Greenwood situation, the deal with the thing with Harry Maguire, shall he play him, shall he not, taking the captaincy off it, Anthony. So but the only thing I will say, so off the field, I have sympathy. But what are Man United? I don't know what they are. What is their style of play? So you've got Fernandes, who's a number 10, playing out on the right. Then you've got Mount, who's playing a bit more like in midfield, but not creating a great deal. Then they move Mount to the right. Then you've got Højlund, who's actually playing really well, but you've got Rashford, who wants to take on people, and balls are not going to come into the box for Højlund. So it's almost like, they've had 3 injuries at left back, having to play Amrabat at left back, but I still don't know what they're trying to do, and that is the biggest question mark I have for Man United.
It's a big difference, I suppose, from the kind of confidence was coming back to the club, wasn't it, last year? There's a bit more belief and hope, and they won a trophy and they lost in another final. They got back into the Champions League spot, and I think obviously these things probably off the pitch have had a negative effect. But it's still surprising how much they've really stuttered at the start of this season. Obviously, in the midweek, they lost in the Champions League at home as well to Galatasaray. Do you think in any way, if those 2 goals from McTominay, particularly just before an international break, very important for the manager, I would have thought. I mean, we don't know whether he's actually under pressure. I think he's bought himself some time with what they did last season. But it can't be easy there at the moment.
They're probably a team that doesn't want the international break at the minute, because when you get a result like that, you want to go, you want to go again straight away, don't you? So now they've got to wait a couple of weeks till they get back. So they wouldn't want that. There's no doubt about that they would prefer to carry on and just without it.
Did you used to enjoy when you were playing the thing, and then it's like, did you look forward to going to play with England, or did you think, oh God, this is just getting in the way of the season? I know a lot of fans do. I think particularly nowadays, probably more than perhaps in my time, because obviously most of the internationals you play now are against countries that, frankly, are not particularly strong. So they're not exactly particularly thrilling fixtures. But I don't know. I used to really look forward to meeting up with the England squad and playing for England.
Me too.
Is that still the case, Micah? You're the most recent.
Yeah, I absolutely used to love it. When I was getting into the England squad, Man City wasn't what they are today. So you go in there and you're playing with better players. And no disrespect, we were sort of fighting to stay in the league, and then you go to England, you're playing with Gerrard and Rio and Lampard and Rooney. The list goes on. But what I didn't like going away is the fact that you were a bit of an outcast. So you had Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, pretty much at the top of their games. Then you would have players like Joelin Lescott, who was at Everton. You'd have Ashley Young, who was at Watford at the time. They have me at Man City, and we was just outcasts. So it wasn't a great environment.
It doesn't help if you don't bring your football boots with you, does it?
I probably should remember them, shouldn't I? Yeah,
I have to borrow them off Steven Gerrard. I mean, do you think, though, when you join an England squad, and I had a similar thing when it's just hard to remember. It's so long ago when I first joined the England squad, but I was incredibly nervous. I think I was at home. It was one Monday, and I got home from training, and I was in my house. I was still living with my parents, and the phone went, and my mum answered the phone, and she said it's Gordon Milne, who was the Leicester manager at the time. So I thought, oh my God, what have I done wrong? What is it? It's a Monday afternoon. So he came. So I picked the phone up and I went, boss, and he said, get yourself a toothbrush, come to the club, pick up your boots. Bobby Robson's been on the phone. Wow. You've got to join the team in Wrexham. And it was a late call up because they had 1 or 2 injuries, and that's why I got called up. So I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, wow. But at the same time, I was thinking, okay.
That's what I mean, yes.
I was like, that's it. So, and then I'm in my little old banger with my name on the side of the car.
No.
Like you used to have back then. And I'm driving up the motor. I had to drive myself. You imagine that now. So I'm driving all the way up, and I eventually meet and I walk in, and I'm looking around, and it's like Trevor Francis and Tony Woodcock and Peter Shilton and all that. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I was so shy. I daren't speak. But Bobby was lovely, and he came and he introduced me to everyone. This is, and it was do you remember your first one?
Oh
yeah, I remember walking in some old farts were there called Gary Lineker and what have you.
But it is nerve-wracking though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because all you've done all your life is watch these guys on television, and then all of a sudden you're in the same dressing room as them, and you're thinking, you're just so desperate to try and make an impression that you don't make it to yourself, aren't you? That's the only problem, yeah.
By forgetting your boots, you mean?
But it's mad though. So I remember my first call up, and I was only 18. Like, when you guys were there, you guys were expected to be there. I got in after, I think, 20 games or something playing for Man City at 18.
That is young.
So
I couldn't have coped.
I remember it. It was a Friday night, and I'm in Moss Side. So for those who don't know, Moss Side's quite a rough area in Manchester, and I'm just in the barbers. I'm in the barbers. There's some bashment.
You're always
playing.
in the barbers.
I was in the barbers. Some bashment's playing. So bashment is like, it's like Afro-Caribbean music. It's like a bit, And then, like, I get a call, but it's off, like, a withheld number. So I'm like, who's ringing? And I never really answer withheld because I always think it's a problem. I think, is it going to be the Sun or is it going to be News of the World? I've got a story on this show. I was so reluctant to answer the phone because what happens is if a story's going to come out at, say, a Sunday papers, you get a call from either your agent or someone from the paper basically saying, we've got this story on you. It's going to come out the weekend. So withheld numbers, it's just don't answer. Let your agent deal with it or whatnot. So I pick up the phone and I get a call. I'm not going to try to do his accent, but it's Steve McLaren. And he's basically said, hi, Micah, just so you know, you're in the upcoming squad for whatever the fixtures are. And I've said, fuck off. I put the phone down because I think someone's pulling my leg. I tell you, ask Steve McLaren about his story. So then when he rings back, and then like he said, no, I'm serious. This is real. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't believe it.
I've just told the England manager to fuck off.
So then like you said, Gary, you're really happy, but you're so nervous, aren't you? You're thinking, oh my God. Yeah. And then the first person you want to ring is your parents. So I rung my dad and he was just like, well, yeah, well done. But it was madness.
The perfect time to take a little breather. Welcome back to the Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. We were talking about international call-ups just before the break. And that, I suppose, brings us on nicely to this current England squad. And it's interesting to know. I don't know about you, Alan. I think once I was called up to that Wrexham game, I was never left out of another England squad and then retired off my own back at the end of my career. Were you ever left out of an England squad?
Oh, not that I'm on.
We know Micah was, but
his was for bad behaviour though.
Surely not. Did you? Were there squads that you thought you should be in and weren't? Because it's going to bring me to a subject probably about maybe Raheem Sterling, Ward-Prowse, Nick Pope.
So yeah, there was a couple of squads, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. There was a couple of squads. There was a season where we won the league with Man City and I got nominated. I'm going to throw it out there. I got nominated for Player of the Year for Man City out of 6. There was, I think, 4 to 6 candidates for that. Yeah. And I didn't go to the Euros. Roy Hodgson left me out of that. And then there was the one with Capello. He put me in his first squad. And then the second squad, he put me back down to the under-21s, and that was demoralising. Honestly, that sort of sucked all the confidence. You know I'm a confident lad anyway, but it sucked all the confidence out of me.
Can I ask you something? I'm not taking this is a serious question.
Get ready for it, Mike.
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's a serious question. But I don't know the answer. Genuinely don't know the answer, is what I'm saying. When you are left out of a squad and you've been in previous squads, no, do you get a phone call? No, that's a serious question, Mike. Did Roy Hodgson or Capello ring you up and say, Micah, you're still in our thoughts, step further down, or did you get an explanation, is what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, he told them to off as well.
So this is what I mean. So when we talked briefly about Roy Hodgson and we talked about him not taking me to the Euros, and why I had a little bit of beef with him is because he didn't ring me himself. If he would have just said, Micah, I don't fancy you because XYZ, he got Stuart Pearce to ring me. That's not good. Because he knew I had a good relationship with Stuart Pearce because he was my manager at Manchester City. So I lost a lot of respect for him. So normally, the manager would ring you up and say, you're not in my squad because of X, Y, Z. But Hodgson didn't ring me. And that was why I lost a bit of respect for him. That's why.
Yeah, I do remember the times that before you go to a major tournament, and you're all in a hotel, and I remember Burnham Beaches, and there were like squad was big, and then from there, that about 4 or 5 of those players wouldn't make it, and they used to wait. Everyone was waiting for the call into the manager's office, where Bobby Robson always told them to their faces, and then you had to see the guys that had been left out, and it was honestly, you genuinely felt for them. Were you around in the squad when was it Gaz was left out and
smashed the room up?
Glenn Hoddle was manager.
Glenn Hoddle was manager. We had like a queue. We had like a 10-minute spell where we all had to sort of go in and be told. Obviously, I sort of knew because I was the captain. So. But there's always a few on the edge which you feel terrible for, because it's like they worked all their career or life to get into a World Cup, and then for them to be left out, it's such a late stage. It's horrible. And
Brighty got one too, didn't he? It happened to Ian.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? It's not nice.
It must be awful. I think I'd have just got Stuart Pearce to do it.
So, Alan, though, as captain, did you then go speak to your teammates? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, well, what can you say? I'm sorry. I mean, if I remember rightly...
I'd have had you in. I'd have had you in.
That's the one, Gary. I'd have had you in. Someone used to say that to me. I used to think, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Because, I used to hate condescending. I used to hate it.
What can you say, though, in that situation? It's like, other than, I'm really sorry, mate.
Seriously though, it must be quite hard for the manager to do that. Say you're going into a Euros or a World Cup.
But I do think it's right that the manager does it. I don't think it's right you get a coach or someone else to do it.
I agree.
And the manager has to do it himself. There's no doubt about that.
Looking at Gareth Southgate's squad, and I mean, it's frankly kind of unthankable job in many ways, because whoever's in the squad, someone has to be left out, and there will always be players that certain people, we all have a view on who should be in and who shouldn't be out. So it's a thankless task in many ways. But there are some things that do surprise you a little bit when Raheem Sterling, for example, has been in good form early in the season. He's been particularly good the last couple of games. And he's always been brilliant for Gareth Southgate and an important player for Gareth Southgate, which is surprising. You could say, well, things do change, but then he's stuck by other players that have had more problems at club level than perhaps Raheem, like Harry Maguire, and certainly Calvin Phillips, who's still in the squad. He's not really getting a kick generally. Ward-Prowse is left out as well. So I suppose there's always going to be someone, isn't there?
I think what you have to do is that if you ask 4 million different people in our country, they'll probably all pick a different squad, wouldn't they? They'll all pick different players. So he's got to pick someone, and also you look at the strength of the positions where he's picking Calvin Phillips in terms of a sitting midfielder. We're not exactly blessed with that many in that position, whereas in Raheem's position, I mean, you mentioned Jarrod Bourne in the squad, Rashford, Grealish, Foden, I suppose, different Saka, who's in there as well. I mean, Raheem might get the call up now, wouldn't he, if Saka's not going to be fit, because obviously he didn't play.
Possibly.
He wasn't in the squad for the City game. Whether they insist on him turning up or not is a different matter. So, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think we can talk about it. Gareth's going to be judged on the results, and if he has a result in the Euros that England win, then he'll just say, "I got it right."
That's right. No, I'd have a little wager that Raheem Sterling will make the squad come next summer.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's one of those players as well that turns up in major tournaments, because not all players do. He just generally does have good tournaments, even when he's perhaps not been at his absolute best in club form. But there are certain players that rise to the occasion, and others don't. And I've always been a huge admirer of Raheem Sterling.
Can I just ask you then, Gary, what would your front three be for England?
Blimey, I've changed my mind so many times.
Or do we change formation 4-2-3-1? It's like, because you've got to get Bellingham in the number 10, haven't you now?
Well, you'd put Bellingham in your squad, would you? What a player. I suppose Bellingham, and then crikey, how good's Maddison been this season?
That's what I mean. He's so hard.
Well, this is a great thing because you know as well as I do, it's pointless picking at just 3 now because everything changes. And in a tournament, you never, everyone goes, oh, why is he not playing him? And by the end of the tournament, most of the players have got some action. And they're playing in certain positions, and injuries and tiredness will come into it. So I think it's sort of futile, but I must say it's a wonderful problem for Gareth Southgate to have. In that we've talked about it before, haven't we, Alan? About how good we are from the midfield going forward. A few question marks, obviously defensively, but every team has question marks. But with this group of players, with Saka and Foden and Rashford and Kane, Maddison and Bellingham and Rice and all the. I mean, there is so much, and I've probably missed 3 or 4 out just off the top of my head. So,
Gary, what's that behind you?
What?
Just get off that fence, will you?
I'm not sitting on the fence.
He's a presenter. He doesn't have to give an opinion at times. Remember that, Micah?
All right.
Just wormed his way out of that question, hasn't he?
That's why I asked the questions, Micah. It's a lot better. Do you know what? The truth is, honestly, I change my mind all the time on it, and that's why I wouldn't be a very good manager. That's why I went straight into this business of telling people how to do it rather than do it yourself. It's a lot better, but it's not that easy, is it? Really? But if it is easy and you've only got 3 people to choose from, if you've only got Rashford and Saka and Kane, then that's quite easy. But when you've also you've got loads of other players,
it's tough, yeah,
with different qualities at different times.
I go back to my point. I go back to my point, Micah, from the front 4 onwards, which probably would include Bellingham in the 10 role.
Well, Bellingham's got to be wherever he wants to be.
I don't see many better in world football than the pool of talent we have got.
No, absolutely agree. We'll probably get beat next week now. I mean, Bellingham as well again. We keep talking about 2 more goals. We're
running out of superlatives.
I know. He's now bettered the start Ronaldo played as the best ever start by anybody at Real Madrid.
Wow.
I mean, this is not Leicester City. This is Real Madrid. This is like one of the along with Barcelona, the biggest clubs in the world, where all the big superstars have always gone. And he's just bossing it, and he's giving it the big.
Mad, isn't it?
Arms out, celebration.
And he's not even a centre forward. You would think if he's a centre forward, he's got centre forward numbers. Even they're impressive for a centre forward. He's not one. It's like unbelievable.
He's scoring centre forward kind of goals as well, isn't he? He's getting in the 6-yard box. I mean,
what about his goal against Napoli though? Midweek, he just runs past people like they're not. Yeah. He is. You know what? I'm not even going to put no pressure on. It's phenomenal.
Don't think he bothered about pressure. Do you think he gives a flying about pressure for Micah Richards? I'm not going to put any pressure on him.
Jude, if you're listening, just relax. Micah loves you, okay? Everything's okay.
I love it.
Fabulous. A couple of lovely little moments this week. Well, not lovely, probably, if you're a Sunderland fan, but did you see it? I hope you saw it, Alan. Matt Crooks scored for Middlesbrough's second. They beat Sunderland by 4-0, and then he celebrated by running along in front of the Sunderland fans, what was he doing? The Alan Shearer one-arm celebration.
How good was that? I loved it. I was scared to like it or retweet it on Twitter because the hate would come straight in, wouldn't it?
If he'd have done it with one of those swimmers' baldy caps, that would have been even better. 17 years after retiring, you're still haunting those Sunderland fans.
Love it. Brilliant. What a way to go out. What a way to celebrate. Yeah. They would have hated him doing that as well.
But we'll finish as we usually do with a moment of the week or the weekend. Did you see Olivier Giroud. Yes. They were 1-0 up, and the game went into injury time. And Mike Mannion, the Milan goalkeeper, got a red card. I think both goalkeepers in that game actually got a red card. But they'd already used all their substitutes. So Olivier went in goal and made a brilliant, brave block as the striker went through, and then jumped on and clutched the ball, and all the players were celebrating. It was brilliant.
That's the moment of the week, isn't it? It has to be.
I think. Well, we've got. Yes, I think it probably has to be. But also, have you ever? Because didn't you say once, Micah, you liked to play in goal?
To be honest, I'd never been in goal in like a proper match, but I used to play in net for school, but it doesn't really count. But I loved it. I would have loved to do that.
Sounds as if you'd gone back to school in net for school.
Have you ever had the gloves on, Alan?
No, I can't. Not since I was a youngster, no. Doesn't interest me. All goalkeepers are weirdos.
Yeah. But goal scorers turn goalkeepers. Olivier Giroud.
Great save as well. Good save it was.
Yeah. Just before we end, we got amazing feedback and a lot of love for the Thierry Henry. And there is, because it was so good and quite long, we actually got another episode, the second part of that coming out on Friday. But he was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you three legends, I know we have our laughs and jokes, but when there's three legends like yourselves who have played at the highest level, and to be so open and honest and be vulnerable, you know, because he even said, like, and that's why I asked him, one of the questions was you putting on a little bit of a front? Because we all think he's Superman, as a superhero, and he is in terms of on the pitch, but off the pitch. I've had so many messages to say it's a bit of a kill because everyone's saying it's the best podcast we've had now. I was like, well, in terms of him being so open, I just thought it was fantastic. It really was. And to hear you guys speaking about your emotions like that, it was definitely eye-opening.
He was, I thought he was, I mean, we've been lucky enough, we've worked with him, and Micah, you work with him on a regular basis. We've worked with him in Euros or World Cups, Gary, haven't we, and other bits. He's just a lovely man, isn't he? He's just a wonderful man, a wonderful human being, a great lad.
He's one of those guys that when he comes in the studio or the office, he goes around, shakes absolutely everyone's hand, and introduces himself, and he's a class act.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
I think that came across both on and off the pitch. Well, that's it for today's episode of The Rest is Football. We'll be back on Wednesday with our question and answer episode as usual. And don't forget, the second part of that Thierry Henry special is out on Friday. If you haven't listened to the first part of that, you can do so now. It's the episode before the one that you're listening to at the moment. I think that makes sense. If not, you'll work it out. They're really not to be missed. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thanks, everyone.